The culture currency show is for those who recognize that nuance is key. We don't pretend to have all the answers, but we tackle the issues that affect the majority when speaking of Black America. Our discussions are informed by the host's personal experiences and insights, and we're always open to evolving our perspective as we gain new understanding. This is the story of two friends from the Bronx who decided to get real, be direct, and impact Black culture.
Welcome to Culture Currency, where culture is the value.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Grand Rising.
How you doing?
I'm great. How
Feeling
you?
bright today?
Yeah.
I like that.
We shining.
Yeah, I like that brand because you have another whole suit with that. I like that. I gotta check them out.
Thank you.
Yeah, they got
Thank
good
you.
stuff.
Yeah.
We ain't gonna shout them out because they gotta give us free stuff.
Facts.
Yeah.
This topic is an interesting one. It's so layered. I can't wait to see where this conversation
where
goes.
it goes. Yeah, it is. It is.
So today, we're talking about living life versus performing life.
Right. Yep. That's really good. That's really good.
Yes. I'm Mahogany,
I'm Age.
and this is Culture Currency.
Where culture
Is the value.
All right. So in thinking about this, we're talking about like living life versus performing it, right? Where do you want to kick off with that? Because when I was looking at it, it's like of course the real self versus the role you're playing, and we could go in the social media era. We can go masculine versus feminine. We can go. It's so many
layers.
different.
The first thought that came to mind when I wrote it down was the difference between living your divine design and your ego or pressured design.
Oh, I love that. Yep. Basically. Yeah. So
We can start wherever you like.
I would like to start with ego and versus and pressure design, because I think a lot of us are diamonds in the rough, and our pressure design is what the hood makes us. You know, where it's not a lot of room to really be who you truly are, especially if it's not that tough, if it's not that, a certain type of image or what the hood breeds. You know what I mean? And a lot of times is the ugly parts of us. And that's the pressure.
So how do we know the difference?
Sometimes we don't.
With that response, I think we should start with where it begins. So it begins very early, right? In one of our episodes, I made the statement that we're domesticated, right? And domesticated means tamed, trained, or broken in.
Right.
Right? So early on, our parents start to mold us into what they deem most comfortable for themselves, right? What makes life easier, right? What makes sense to their belief systems, right? And then the same happens on different levels as we go on, from the outside world and different things like that. If we're not careful, we just become what everybody desires us to be.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's what I was calling the pressured design, right? And then you got the ego design, which goes into kind of the masculine and feminine conversation that you brought up and different things like that, like what society has deemed
the
norms or the cool spaces,
right,
and how we show up in those. So let's first talk about where it starts.
You already touched on it, where it starts, right? So at home, and what we're taught from our parents based on where they're most comfortable, the picture that they see for ourselves, or if you grew up in the inner city, what's what keep us most safe, right? So for example, my mother, like, even though I know she wants her kids to be safe and all of those things and not be involved in violence, she taught us, one of y'all have a fight, y'all jump that person. You pick up anything you find and do what you gotta do. I'm sure she didn't want her kids to go to jail. I'm sure she didn't want her kids stabbing nobody. But where we grew up, it's survival. That's what would have kept us most safe. You know what I mean? So then you grow up with that aggression where you feel like every issue is a fight or a possible fight. You know what I mean? Because that's what you taught to always. And then my people's doing it, we doing so. We all jumping in. You grow up with that kind of mentality. But it wasn't a comfort thing. It was a survival technique.
I'm happy that you brought up that layer because I didn't even go there mentally when I was thinking about this discussion.
Right.
That's a part of the pressure, right? I might not be a fighter. Like I've been known to be someone because I am very big on people being exactly who they are. I've had people around me who are not fighters, right? And I don't expect them to be a fighter. Like, you know, I would be like, oh, you soft, like, I don't want you with me when this is happening.
Right.
You know, that's a hood thing.
Right.
I've never been that person. I kind of just like, I know that this is not somebody I can count on in these type of situations. Yep. There are those that front like they're that person, though. They're not that person, but will play the role, act tough, put themselves in situations to possibly just scare off the possibility of that situation, or just because it's the cool thing to do.
Yep. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of fronting. And I was just talking to my students about that because one of our kids just recently killed another kid. It's a young woman that we did mediations with because different issues that she's had with the students that was directly in our programs. And she ended up stabbing a young woman, and a young girl. She's 17. She stabbed a little girl, 16.
Stabbing is happening a lot right now.
Yeah, but that's some real passionate anger right there, right? Anyway, so 2 lives are lost, right? So I wanted to sit down and have this discussion with the kids. I said, listen, growing up, when we lost somebody, it was no discussion about it. If we saw a dead body, it was no discussion about it. If somebody went to jail it was no discussion about how we were feeling, how we were impacted by things. And I said, I don't want that to be y'all. So we have this safe space where we can have these conversations. Because they didn't want to have the conversation. I said, no, we're having it. And whoever doesn't want to talk, you don't have to, but we're going to have this conversation. So I started off about how I felt about it and the guilt I felt about not connecting with this young woman, obviously, gay young woman trying to find herself, looked like us, and I didn't make that connection with her, and I felt guilty about that. But anyway, my whole point is one of the students shared the story, and he was like, yeah, we was at a party, and things got a little staticky. He said, and a friend of mine, he was like, he was scary, so I was by myself. And I said, well, let me tell you something. I said, there's actually nothing wrong with being scared. I said, scared is an emotion like everything else. When your friend came to that party with you, he didn't come to that party to fight or possibly get jumped. He came to have fun. I said, so it's nothing wrong that he was scared. I said, but you just know, when, like you said, when certain situations come up, he's not the one for that. That's not what he's built for. That's not what
you don't depend on him.
You don't depend on him, but there's nothing wrong with him being scared. He didn't come to that situation acting like, yeah, we going to do this, and then backed out.
Yeah, that's a different.
Right, that's a different. That's how he came to have a good time. You know what I mean? So it was just a good conversation to have with them about making certain decisions and not feeling pressure because of where we live. You know,
and not pressuring your friends or the people that you interact with to be anything other than who they are. It's unfortunate that someone got stabbed. You said dead?
Yeah, one 16-year-old's dead, 17-year-old going to jail.
Rest in peace to that young person. And it's unfortunate. That's 2 lives that are lost and multiple lives that are affected behind a scenario.
So the point of that is talking about like external presentation, because there was a lot of stories that were shared, but things that we definitely can relate to of feeling pressure to do certain things and you acting in those ways because you got to show people that you're not soft. You know what I'm saying? And it takes years, it takes time to have the confidence where you're not anybody's puppet and you're not just jumping because the cameras are in front of you or jumping because remember they push you and then you get in and you fight and all that kind of, remember that?
That used to be wild funny. The whole crowd is
just a
part of the shenanigans, waiting to create the chaos and step away like
so
I
now
had
the push is the cameras, putting the cameras on you and you feel like now you gotta
show up a certain way.
You gotta show up a certain way. So that's called the external presentation, where you're actually performing life for whoever's watching. And so you're delivering a certain image that's not necessarily you. It's like, I have to be this way, so I got to do this thing.
What I wrote down was, how does it show up and what does it look like, right? So it shows up sometimes toughness, right? Rage, disingenuous, like lying,
right?
You know what I mean? About what you have or don't have.
Right. Oh, man.
It shows up.
Damn. I don't even want to go there.
Yeah, it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot of ways in which it shows up, and it absolutely gets in the way of connectivity.
Right.
How do we connect? We don't really know who you are.
Right.
Like we didn't really choose to sign on to who you are because you didn't show us who this is to sign on to.
Yep. And I think a lot of that goes to like, who are you when
nobody's looking.
When
Integrity.
nobody's looking, it's some language that you use, but I'm gonna just go back to what I have because I can't remember it right now. Is the masculine versus feminine, and us signing on to these things, thinking as if, this is masculine, so I have to be all the way this way. This is feminine, so I cannot be this way. When we really have both, and it's important to have that
so
balance,
important
right?
to have that
you have to have that balance, right? The thing about that is it's not really male female. It's a human trait. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So men have more testosterone at a certain, time in their lives, right? And then and women have more estrogen, right? So we have more of naturally, but all of it is within us, and you have to pull from those different pockets depending on the situation, right?
Yeah, we're big science projects.
We're big,
right? So
right.
It's a chemical reaction.
Right,
And because it's a chemical reaction, we have to understand that sometimes you got a little bit of something more than the next, right?
Mm-hmm.
To some degree, it does go by way of gender because of our makeup. But also, the other part is no two men have the same amount. No two women have the same amount, right? So people show up differently because of the chemical response that goes on in their bodies. So when we start with this is the way a man acts because of masculinity, you're doing a disservice because now the men who aren't showing up that way, are they no longer men?
Right, where it's like, he's a man's man. Wow.
Masculinity doesn't necessarily mean aggression, right? Like to equate that to being violent and angry is wild, right? Not everybody is that. Definitely not every man is that.
Right.
Right? And to equate estrogen and femininity to the lacking of the ability of being that is a disservice as well.
Right.
Because now you're going to get some outcomes that are unexpected because everyone's chemical response is different depending on their makeup.
Right, that's right. And it really, and like you said, it's really a disservice because when we show up in certain ways that we think we're supposed to be, we tend to overdo it. But you feel like it's right on par because this is what society told you that you are. So, for example, you can't be a strong leader that lacks empathy, right? So strong leader is like masculine and empathy is feminine. So you can't be, okay, I'm masculine, I'm a strong leader, I don't play no games with nobody, whatever, but you lack empathy, you can't connect with people. That's ineffective, that's harmful. You know what I mean?
Both.
But you need both. But we get so caught up in what we think these labels mean that you really mess up situations and you mess up relationships, right? So what I did was I just put masculine and feminine here, right? Mm-hmm. So masculine is deemed competitive, protective, action-oriented, goal-driven, logical. Mm-hmm. A lot of women are that, right? I know I'm all of that.
I'm all of that.
I'm all of that, right? And then feminine is intuitive, emotional, nurturing, collaborative, supportive, receptive. I'm all of that
as well.
You know what I'm saying? And then so there's really a human trait. Mm-hmm. And it's really not about balance, but really showing up as who you really are in all of those things.
And I want to be clear because we both saying like we're both of those things. And somebody who lacks the understanding outside of the visual aspect could look at us and say, well, y'all
Obviously,
different.
Yeah.
No, there are women who dress the part who also have all of those things. And so sometimes those things just vary in amounts depending on timing, circumstances, and people, right? But those things exist in us all. So it's very important that we be. I would say I'm a big spokesperson for being yourself.
Right.
Like I don't allow outside forces to dictate how I move, how I act, what I wear, I need to sign on for something. Even since I was very young, soon as the masses are into something, I'm off it.
Right.
Because I'm not attracted to what everyone does.
Same.
I like to stand out. I like to be different. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, it's done me a great service because it's helped me to be as much me as I can be. Right. Although I've had the same struggles as other people, where there has been situations where I dumbed myself down a little bit, usually to afford other people the opportunity to shine.
Yeah.
However, when it comes down to anyone who's ever known me throughout my life, the main thing that always comes up is you've always known who you are. You know what I mean? At the core of you. We discussed a lot of the ego design, and we discussed a lot of the pressure design. Now, how about the divine design?
Right, so that's living it, right? When you're really living in life and fully embodying in your daily life what comes from within you, and you're, like you said, you know, you're in it when no one's watching. That's when you're really living your life. And I think, honestly, it takes some time to get there. The reason why I think that is one message that I was taught, and because I know that at 44, really living my life and be in it and really and comfortable in my whole skin. My dad said to me a long time ago, he said, you know, it's gonna take you a little time to figure out who you are. At the time I thought I knew who I was, you know? And he said, you know, it took me some time to figure out who I am, you know, it may be the same for you. And he was right, you know? So I think that it takes experience, it takes trying on different skins to say, oh, nah, this is definitely me.
I think we get downloads throughout our lives, right? So we learn parts of ourselves through different levels and experiences of life. So we often feel like we know ourselves because we know this portion.
Right.
But then we go through something and it reveals something else, and now we know some more about ourselves.
Right.
So our entirety of life is us coming into ourselves fully, but knowing the core of yourself is really the foundation.
Yes. Oh, yeah, right.
Right. So knowing, I speak of principles all the time, knowing what you stand for, what your beliefs is,
Absolutely.
knowing the things that you live for, and the things that you may die for.
That's right.
Right. Those things are prevalent to your makeup.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
And the other things you get as you go.
Yeah. Like one principle I always had: no stealing. I don't want it to happen to me. You know what I mean? There's times I found signed blank checks. I said, oh, it was meant for me to sign it. I'm gonna find this, rip it up, throw it in the garbage. You know, really believing that, or anything that you put out, you're getting back. So really living that from young. It didn't take me experience to figure out that part of myself. It's been there. I'm sure it came from something. I'm sure it came from lessons being taught at home. But that would definitely call myself. That's a good point though. It doesn't take a bunch of experience to get to know the core of yourself. Like some kids are born revolutionaries.
That's me.
Like that speak out and different. You know what I mean? And fight the good fight. And,
I was about to say that.
Yeah.
That's the one core value that I knew since I was very young, and it made my life really hard because while the infrastructure is trying to domesticate you, you know what you know.
Right.
You feel what you feel. You know what's fair and not fair.
Right.
So when justice is the foundation of who you are, it's a fight.
Right.
So my whole life has been that because that's the core of me. And I see that in my granddaughter as well. Sadie is like, yo, that's just not fair.
Right.
And and that's the core of her. Right. So it's certain things that she's gonna have to learn as she goes on to figure out the other pieces of her. But there are certain things that are so profoundly there. And I tell my kids all the time because I watch the beauty. I know a lot of people talk about how their parents are different with the grandkids than they were with them, right? That's a whole discussion within the community all the time. And I can admit that's a true statement. Right. There's a very big difference between having the responsibility of everything being on you and you having to figure it out. You're not as present as you would like to be. Right. Because you're surviving, right? But when you're a grandparent, you're more present because the parent has to do all of that extra stuff.
You get to be the fun.
You get to not only be the fun, but you get to pay attention.
Yes.
Like really engage, really just enjoy the person, right? And so within getting to know my grandchildren, I started realizing, like these little people are exactly who they are from the very start.
It's so cool,
From the beginning, like you're watching them, and I started telling my kids, like, pay attention, because if you're not careful, you start to try to beat who they are out of them.
That's right.
Right?
You can kill it.
Because it's uncomfortable for you, you start to try to kill that version of them, and that's what takes longer to find themselves as it goes on.
Absolutely.
So
Good
I bring
point.
that back to what you said, it varies. The time frame of really figuring yourself out varies according to your experience, according to how much damage was done in your early years, how much was lost, right? How much
Right.
was lost
Right.
depends on how much needs to be found.
Absolutely.
Right? And so there are many of us who are not living in our divine design, right? There are many of us who are reading the script and playing
Right.
it out.
And playing it out.
Right? That is never going to be fulfilling because you are here to fulfill a specific testimony,
exactly.
right? And that comes from your divine design. That
Right.
doesn't come from anything else but your
Right.
divine design.
Right. So the whole podcast is about the help of Blacks in America, right? And we know, what America was built on. It was built on the backs of slaves. You know what I mean? And that was never the divine design for beautiful Black people. You know what I mean? But systematically from then, there's been systems built to build these barriers and take us off on these tangents, where is landing us where we are today, and before it landed us where we were then, and then. So we have a lot of rubbish that we have,
shake off.
that we're trying to shake off and push off our backs while we're trying to be our best selves. You know what I mean?
I'm so appreciative of that point you just made because it's a reality that because of our plight as Black Americans, our confusion is that much deeper. Our lack of understanding and knowledge is that much deeper when it comes down to who we are and who we desire to be. And it takes that much more will, to push through, because there are these entities that are placed strictly to make sure that we don't get there. Right? And so I'm happy that you brought that up because it's very important to the discussion.
Gangs, my after school programs that got me away from that, as well as my brother, but I have a lot of family members who are in gangs. Being able to navigate that and figuring out who you are. Like for me, I've never been a troublemaker, but I've never been soft. I'm not scary, but you're not gonna make me do so. I'm not jumping at other people's beefs. I never was interested in running around. Now I gotta be in everybody else's problems. You know what I mean? I'm not doing that. But it takes a lot to be in these certain neighborhoods and grow up and be comfortable in that. You feel like you gotta show up and be the extra tough. You know what I mean? And then we're pressured to be those people.
For me, I've always been, I am soft, but not soft in the way of I don't get it cracking, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a soft person, but I'm also very stern. I'm very stern in my belief systems, and I'm willing to go down for whatever I believe in, right? So early on, I was the person fighting for other people, but that's because I don't believe in unjust situations. So I wasn't a puppet, but I was absolutely someone who seen something happening or somebody being picked on or the bullies, you know what I mean? Different things like that. And I had to get involved. Because of that, mixed with the fact that I have my own trauma and my own issues, I showed up in a space where people would say, she thinks she's a tough guy. And actually, I'm peace over war. I would much rather be able to talk through something than have to get physical. But if I have to get physical, then that's what happens.
And that's it.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But knowing yourself is key. You know what I mean? Knowing yourself is key. The moment that I was able to know enough and have the tools to be able to live as I desired, it changed things. Because yes, I'm still that person who doesn't believe in unjust behavior, right? But I do understand how to choose wisely.
Exactly, discernment.
I learned how to choose wisely what I engage in and engage with. I learned that if I truly desire being peace over war, then my actions have to show that, right? And so I had to be who I was divinely created to be. And that is somebody who says like, yo, I would much rather us be healthy and interacting healthy. Instead of dying for things, I would like to live for things, right? And so that's where we at now.
Right. So how do we live like more authentic and full of lives? Like, how do you think we can get there, coming from where we're from, where we're really living authentic, full of lives? Because listen, our audience of people who agree that they would like to see a change amongst the relationships and the internal, external health of Black people, of American Blacks, but also who want to change, who want to grow, who want to adjust. So for the ones who are struggling, who are our viewers, how can we have that discussion with them about living more authentic, fuller lives without like all of the resources that's needed to really see that come to pass?
That part doesn't really take too many resources. Ask yourself, am I following the inner voice, like that gut voice, or am I following the outer echoes?
Oh, can I say
right?
oh.
You know what I mean? That's where it starts, is understanding. Am I not wearing this because people are gonna say they seen me with this on before? Or am I not wearing this because I don't wanna wear this? Am I not saying this because I'm worried about the response to what I'm saying? Or am I not saying this because I don't think it needs to be said? Am I not acting this way because I'm worried about how people are gonna view me? Or is this who I am? Like, all of those questions are the questions that start the understanding of who you are divinely. What do I believe in? How do I show up that proves that this is what I believe in? Because a lot of us think we believe in stuff too, and our actions don't show that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, I love it. So you said the gut voice versus the
outer echoes.
Versus the outer echoes. And when that we talk about the gut all the time, and we talk about times that we didn't follow our gut and we had to pay for it. Little, big or
A recent
small,
situation.
Right? Yeah.
A family member was supposed to bring my granddaughter to me. My gut, when the offer was made, like, no, just buy the ticket. I didn't listen. I was seeing that I was being warned, but I wasn't taking the information. I kept saying, I'm giving this person the benefit of the doubt. Why are you giving anyone the benefit of the doubt when your gut is saying no?
Right.
Right? And so I had to pay for that. And that's exactly what happened. I ended up
paying more?
I ended up paying more because I had to get a ticket on my own outside of the ticket that I paid for via that person. And I had to chalk it up to accountability. I know better.
Right.
I know that my gut is source telling me right from wrong, yes or no. And when I don't listen, I have to pay the consequences for that.
And you just got to eat that.
And I got to eat it.
Yep. I love the way you broke that down on how to get to the authentic, and that's really the outside noise versus your gut, because our guts are really our guides. Now I'm at a point in my life where if I don't have like divine confirmation, I'm not moving. I'm not making a decision. I'm like, no, I'm not. But I don't know yet because I gotta feel it. Or if something just doesn't, I'm like,
you gotta.
Even looking for a new office, I'm like, I'm getting good deals, but I'm like, I don't feel it though. I don't feel it. So I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna keep looking until I'm like, this is it. This is it. You know when this is it.
And you know it.
Right.
You know it. You feel it. It feels good. And then the actions around it just so align.
I've been struggling with a real tough decision, business-wise, a real tough decision. And yesterday, I literally had about 15 minutes. I was moving around a lot, and I had 15 minutes to sit there. So I said, let me just sit down. And I was sitting and just sitting there.
Being still and
just
quiet.
Being still and quiet. I wasn't even looking for this answer. And it just came to me. I just brainstormed something out there, and I said, that's it. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing.
You never have to look for it.
No.
You just got to be open enough to see it.
That's right. And be still
Receive
sometime.
it. Yeah, stillness, quietness is like I do that all the time. And that's why when I don't take heed, I take the punishment that comes with it,
And
without even being angry.
So when we get in our minds what we want to do, you start ignoring the signs. Like, should I still be with this person? You know damn well this happened already, that happened, and that always show you, but you want what you want, so you keep pushing, and it's really a force. You're really forcing something because your gut is acting crazy the whole time.
The whole time.
So
you know better. Your body knows better.
Your body knows. The body keeps score. Even
back
if you
to that
forget,
chemistry thing.
Back to the chemistry thing, right? Everything is already in there. We have these experiences. It's part of our mental makeup now. It lives in our body. And when you forget, because the person you're talking about, you had you had information already.
Yep.
Or
and
you
I forgot that
and you
information.
forgot.
Yep.
Your body didn't forget though.
My body didn't forget.
And it was telling you no. It was telling you no.
Yeah.
You got to remember the body keeps score. So you got to remember these things. You got to listen to your gut. And that's how we start living in our more authentic selves and know, like, nah, I'm not doing that.
Absolutely.
I'm going to walk this way, even if it's the longer way.
Yo, it's not very often that I don't listen to my gut.
Right.
But when I don't,
You gotta
I
pay.
feel it.
Yeah.
When
Right.
my gut be like, yo, go left, I am very consistent. I'm somebody, if it's not broke, why fix it?
Taurus.
I'm a constant. I'm a constant. So sometimes even just walking home in the same way, sometimes my gut be like, go that way. And I'll go. Because I'm like, I don't know what it just saved me from, but I heard you.
I heard you.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Don't fight it. Don't fight who you are. When you fight who you are, it takes you that much longer to get to where you need to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we did it.
I think so too. That's just good stuff, man.
I'm Mahogany,
I'm Ish.
and this is Culture Currency.
With Culture,
Is the value.
make sure to like, subscribe.
Share and comment.
We really appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Peace.